Go. All right, I'm on. Um, so I'm going to go into present mode. What you'll notice is there isn't a ton of text on this assignment. If you saw the directions, this could be an entire, 5-page paper you could write. Instead of that, what we're having you do is just create a presentation that does all those things the assignment says you have to do. So I have put everything I'm going to say in my speaker notes. So I'm going to go into present and then I'll start. I'm not sure when I do this if you'll be able to see my presenter notes or not, but I'm going to be reading from that.
Presentation is also in the Nearpod if anyone wants to look along.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to share some details surrounding a key event that's currently influencing our unfolding presidential election, and that is the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court by President Trump. First, I'd like to talk about how this nomination is playing out in the mainstream media. In September, liberal politicians and Americans in general suffered a terrible loss when Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away at age 87. Ginsburg won several landmark civil rights cases on behalf of women before becoming the second woman ever appointed to the Supreme Court in 1993 by then-President Bill Clinton. According to Reuters, she's most famous for being a tough questioner with little tolerance for sexual discrimination in the law. When a Supreme Court vacancy occurs, justices are typically appointed by the sitting president to a lifelong position, and then they get approved by the Senate. A week after Ginsburg's death, it was revealed that Donald Trump would attempt to replace her with Amy Coney Barrett, who's a favorite of religious conservatives. In a separate article from Reuters, it was pointed out that her selection alarmed women's rights groups, who have expressed concern that on the Supreme Court, Barrett could help overturn the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade decision that legalized abortion nationwide. Ginsburg was a liberal icon who almost always voted to extend women and other oppressed people's protections before the law. It appears that she might be replaced by someone who's her opposite. Now, it could be said that this story has its roots in 2016, following the death of Justice Antonin Scalia. According to the Washington Post, back then, Senate Republicans refused to hold a vote on Merrick Garland, which was Obama's nominee to the court following Scalia's death in February of 2016. Republicans at the time said the upcoming election was a chance for voters to weigh in on this election. Trump then won that election and nominated Neil Gorsuch to the seat early in his presidency. Now, Scalia died 9 months before that election in 2016, so the fact that Senate Republicans are rushing to fill Ginsburg's seat just 1 month before this election appears a little bit hypocritical given their previous rationale. According to USA Today, the Senate Judiciary Committee has finished confirmation hearings of Coney Barrett to replace Justice Ginsburg, and the leader of the Republican Senate majority, Mitch McConnell, claims that the GOP is going to move full speed ahead with her confirmation since they have the votes necessary to confirm her. Most Republicans have avoided answering the question of whether or not this is hypocritical given their actions in 2016 following Scalia's death. And the event is understandably being covered quite different by different media outlets. In an article entitled "This Supreme Court Term Just Ended with Either," in an article entitled "This Supreme Court Will End with Either Catastrophe or 13 Justices," published by Slate, written a few weeks after these events began, represents the way liberals are reacting to this event. The author emphasizes just how dangerous Republicans are behaving. When Republicans gathered at the White House on September 26 to celebrate the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court, they placed themselves at the epicenter of a likely super spreader event. Trump remains hospitalized while key Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee are in quarantine. Yet on Friday, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell insisted he's going to move full steam ahead with the confirmation hearings to install Barrett on the Supreme Court, even if that means endangering themselves and Senate staff. They also focus on all the upcoming important cases that Barrett could have a hand in swaying. Some of the cases they mention are the Affordable Care Act, expanding rather than restricting the Second Amendment right to bear arms, the Roe versus Wade case, as previously stated, The author states, if a 6-3 conservative majority decides all these cases, they would swiftly transform American life and put millions in danger. By the end of this term, the Supreme Court could revoke more than 20 million Americans' health insurance and legalize odious or hateful discrimination against same-sex couples. The article concludes with the following line describing the ultimate long-lasting result of this strong conservative majority at the court. A steady and marked trend toward clawing back Democrats' efforts to protect the vote, protect the planet, and expand protections for workers and vulnerable communities. We will see a systemic effort to deregulate big businesses, constrain federal agencies, undo gun control, and loosen protections for women's health. That is coming, and it's coming sooner than you think. Slate's author emphasis on the threats this event poses to the future of universal health care, gun control, women's rights to control their own bodies, the rights of same-sex couples, expanding voting access, and climate change are all values of the Democratic Party. On the other side of the aisle, the conservative voice is captured in an article from the week of Barrett's confirmation hearings in the New York Post. The article is titled, Democrats Can't Kavanaugh Unflappable Justice-to-Be Amy Coney Barrett. And the author celebrates the frustration and powerlessness that Democrat lawmakers are no doubt feeling at this moment. He states, they came, they questioned, they got nothing. It's almost enough to make you feel sorry for Democrats. Almost. He then lists several attempts the Democrats made to get Barrett to admit how she might vote on issues that relate to their signature legislative efforts, like Obamacare, and Barrett didn't reveal any of this information. Democrats grew increasingly frustrated, and the author seems to enjoy that. And he says this is the way that judges should be behaving. And he, in fact, points out that Ginsburg did the same thing in her 1993 confirmation hearing. He states the separation of powers discussion is crucial because it's one of the defining differences of these two main political parties. Democrats have used the courts as a kind of super legislator to win rulings on measures that they can't get through Congress and state houses. Republicans generally want judges to stay in their lane and not be activists who stick their fingers in the air to see which way the political winds are blowing. At one point, the author states that televised hearings such as these are especially valuable since high schools and colleges apparently no longer teach civics or a positive view of what made America unique in the history of mankind. The author's reference to the problems of modern education speak to the conservative value of honoring the past and traditions. It's the same sentiment that Make America Great so appealing to so many Republican voters, and also claiming Democrats want judges to just stay in, also claiming liberals want judges to push their agenda, whereas Republicans want judges to just stay in their lane, is a characteristic of the conservative value of having a decentralized and less powerful government. The belief that keeping things as they are is keeping people neutral and unbiased is a belief that many conservatives hold because they long for the old days. And finally, by referring to liberal efforts to expand access to healthcare through the Affordable Care Act, referring to this as Obamacare, the author is attempting to link a human right effort to whether or not his audience likes Barack Obama. And he's probably assuming that they do not. So all these are evidence that this article is speaking to the Conservative Party. All right, I'm going to stop now, everyone. As you can see, the next thing that I would do is go into part 2, which is how this nomination is playing out on social media. But I'm going to stop my sharing. I'm going to stop this screencast. Stop this screencast.